I had gotten organized, started this company, and had already started to earn more money than I had. And I was on my way out of the quicksand. But sometimes just getting organized and earning more money can be a short time fix. There were mindset shifts that I made in that year where I started to transition from giving all of myself to my family to saying, okay, I need to also be fulfilled. Like, I have to fill my cup. How do you even do that? I loved being a stay-at-home mom. I love my children. I love giving of myself to my family. But also, I'm a lifelong learner. Like, I need to have stimulation. I need to have something to sink my teeth into. How do I do that? And so escaping quicksand was really how I did that. This 10 steps to how I was able to prioritize my self-care along with the care of everyone else in our family.
Welcome to the Self-Care Goddess podcast, where healing stories, practical self-care strategies, and science-backed tools to regulate stress, feel calm, grounded, and energized come together to help you reclaim your vitality. I'm your host, Rita Savoia, holistic nutritionist, trauma-informed breathwork coach, and founder of Breathwork Barista. This podcast is for women who are ready to restore their energy and radiance, reconnect with their bodies, reawaken their inner power, and redefine self-care as a way of being. Through science meets soul practices, restorative mind-body tools, and real stories of transformation, we'll explore how true well-being can help you live with more joy, vibrant health, and authentic connection to yourself and those you love. Take a deep breath in, let it go, and let's begin. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Self-Care Goddess podcast with today's theme, how to escape the quicksand of housework and establish supportive self-care. Very excited to discuss this topic with our next guest here today. But before we do that, as you know, on this podcast, we walk the talk. So let us give ourselves a few minutes to just breathe, to just be, inhaling through the nose and then exhaling, letting it go. Taking a couple more moments to just maybe scan your body. So quickly scan your body for any areas of tension, stress, or tightness or stiffness. I invite you to allocate those areas, or maybe one, and then channel the exhales to help you soften, open up on your next inhale. Inhaling through the heart. So in and out through the heart. So channeling those inhales and exhales into the area of the heart. Where attention goes, energy flows. So let's energize this beautiful organ that's keeping you alive. And now I invite you to visualize someone that you're grateful for as you inhale and exhale through the area of the heart. Visualize this person as if they were right here in front of you, and I invite you to send them all the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation for being in your life. And now send this love and gratitude and appreciation, send it back to you for being here, taking a moment, time out, and just being here with the sweet present moment. On your next inhale, flutter your eyes open and come back to us. Thank you for joining me today. Today's guest is someone who is on a mission to help people clear the clutter, not just in their homes, but in their lives. Lisa Woodruff is the founder and CEO of Organize 365 and the host of the highly acclaimed Organize 365 podcast with more than 24 million downloads and counting. Through her work, Lisa helps people reduce overwhelm, create sustainable systems, and discover that organization isn't something you're born with, but it's a skill that can be learned. In fact, while most people believe organization is important, far fewer feel they've actually mastered it. Lisa is changing that by teaching you practical strategies that help people reclaim their time, reduce mental clutter, and create more space for what matters most. At the heart of her work is the belief that organization isn't about perfection. It's about creating a life that supports your goals, your well-being, and your unique season of life. And beyond organizing, Lisa has a fun, competitive side. In high school, she competed in national jigsaw puzzle competitions alongside her grandmother. How cool is that? A passion that perhaps hinted early on at her love for putting pieces together. She enjoys life's simple pleasures, especially ice cream. And if her life had a soundtrack right now, it would be 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. Love that song. Lisa, welcome to the Self-Care Goddess podcast. How are you today?
I am great. I love that, starting with breath work, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So give us a little more background on your personal journey and why are you on this mission?
Yes, I have always been intrigued and obsessed with households in general. My dad is the oldest of 6 kids. He had me when he was 23, so a lot of his siblings were still being raised by his parents. And as the oldest grandchild on both sides, I would be in that big, bustling family home very often. And again, my mom's family also was big. And so when we would have big holiday events, she had some step siblings from a second marriage. And so there were 6 kids and all those grandkids. And so I just loved seeing those big families and how they work together. In high school, I babysat like it was my full-time job, and it was a full-time job for 5 different families. And I knew intricately how those households ran, and I ran a lot of those households. Then I went to college. I got a degree in early childhood elementary education. And I did home visits when I was a preschool teacher for those children who were at risk. And so I saw how those households ran. Then I was a stay-at-home mom for a decade and went into a lot of other households, and we had a lot of play dates. I saw how those households ran. And then when I started this company at the age of 40, I started as a professional organizer, going into people's homes and actually getting them organized, helping them settle estates or move into their next phase of life. And I saw how all those households run. So by the time I was like 45, I was like, interesting. Most people haven't been in this many households in this capacity. Like when you go to your friend's house or even your family members' houses, you don't often go in their bedrooms or their storage areas. And so you don't see how households function. So I have a really unique lens on how households function. And as a teacher, I figured out that organization was a learnable skill. So I created courses to teach that, and then realized we didn't have school supplies. So I created the office supplies we need to run our households. And most recently, I got a PhD in applied psychology. And now I'm going to scientifically test these courses and supplies that I've made over the years to see if they do, in fact, actually improve our productivity at home.
Wow, that is such an incredible story, and how everything had to happen in that exact order for you to be where you are today. That always amazes me. But at the same time, it's like, no, that's exactly what had to happen in that order. So incredible. Yeah. So what are some stories in terms of maybe the most memorable ones when you go into someone's home and you help them organize?
I will say maybe not the most memorable, but the most pivotal in changing my mindset about how our households run was when I was a professional organizer and I started organizing women who had not had children and were corporate women, and or women who were widowed. And so their spouse was gone and their children were grown. And so they were living in their households alone. And that's not, even though I had aunts and my sister live on their own, I hadn't really thought about it because I was married with kids. And a lot of the research around household organization and running our households limits their participant pool to married couples with children. But in reality, like in my podcast, 60% of the people who listen to my podcast are not married with children under the age of 18. They may be married, but they may not have young children, or they may not be coupled or not have children at all. And so there's a large portion of our population who lives in households that aren't being studied in the academic studies that we do. And we focus so much on like, how do you organize kids' clutter? How do you organize for holidays? But not really, how does a human organize and run their household through their entire lifespan?
So how do we do that? What are your tips on doing that?
So as I was moving out of in-home organizing into creating more of an online company with physical products, I started hiring staff, and I have a teaching degree. I don't have a business degree. So I would go to all the masterminds, read all the books about like how to run a company, how to grow a company, how to hire, how to fire, all those things. And slowly over time, I became the CEO of my company. Now I'd called myself a CEO for a long time, but I became the CEO when I had to fire people, when I had to make budget decisions, when I had to say, okay, that's great that we want to do this project, but we're not a project company. Like we have to have sales, we have to have revenue, we have to do the accounting, we have to like make sure that we're doing all the areas of the company, not just the ones that we want to do or are the most fun. And I was like, oh, that's how we should be running our households. Like instead of running our households based on whatever we think about next or the thing that we almost missed or is glaringly obvious in our eyesight, what are the invisible things we should be doing in our household? What are the things we should be doing seasonally? What are the things you have to do in different phases of life in your household? How can we put better systems and structures into our household like we do in business so that they are productive? And productive at home doesn't necessarily increase more money, although it can. It increases more time for you to do what you want to do with that.
How so? Can you give us an example?
Yeah. So for example, okay, here's my best example. I'll put you through the little test. Are you ready for a little test?
Yes.
Okay. I'm on my way home. I just run a bunch of errands. I'm on my way home. I need to get my Pilates clothes on, grab something for dinner, change the laundry, and get back in the car. Okay. So I'm pulling in the driveway. I grab the mail out of the mailbox, and in my mind is this mantra from the 90s, like you should only touch your mail once. And if you can recycle it, you should, recycle it on your way into the house. So on my way into the house, I start flipping through the mail. I get everything can be recycled into the recycle bin before I cross that threshold. A+ for me, I am being productive. Put the rest of the mail on the counter, go get something to eat so that I can eat it in the car, go change into my Pilates clothes, get back in the car. I'm on my way to Pilates. What did I forget to do?
Feed the kids or whoever's home.
Change the laundry.
Ah, right.
Okay, so when our working memory can only hold so many things. Like a phone number is 10 digits because that's about the most our working memory can handle. So my working memory could have done those 3 tasks, but I added in the mail. And even grabbing the mail out of the mailbox probably wouldn't have knocked any of those tasks out of my working memory. But because I started processing the mail and thinking about the mail, I removed that changing the laundry from my working memory and replaced it with the mail. So how I think you get more time in your household is that you become more strategic with how you use your time. Like if you were at work and someone came in and said, I need to have a quick meeting with you. Like if they were needed to go to the hospital or were going to quit, you would stop what you were doing and you would have that meeting. Otherwise, you would say, well, I'm going to record this podcast. I've got to finish this brief. Can it wait till the end of the day or can it wait till tomorrow? And they would say, yeah, it can wait till the end of the day. And you would have put that person into a time slot on your calendar that was appropriate. But in households, we don't do that. Like anytime our brain or somebody's, gives us a task, we're like, okay, I'll do it right now. Because number one, we don't want to forget it. And number two, we don't want to have to write it down because already our to-do list is just way too long. So if I could just do it in 5 minutes, I'll just do it. So my system, the Sunday basket, takes things like the mail and you literally just drop it in the Sunday basket and you process all of your mail on Sunday. You do a lot more in the Sunday basket than just the mail, but that's an example of, yes, you're going to do an actionable. The task can wait till Sunday. It just waits all the way till Sunday and you get the laundry changed, you get your clothes on, you get the food, you get back in the car. Now you are accomplishing your goal. Now, do you have to go through the mail on Sunday? Yes, but you actually save time because going through 6 days worth of mail in 20 minutes is faster than going through mail in 5 to 7 minutes, 6 different times.
Right. That makes sense.
So
I love that. Yeah. So it's putting a system together. So is it, why Sunday? Why is it like a preference for you or I'm just curious? Because for me, it's self-care. For me, it's self-care Sundays. I'm not sure if going through the mail, I would consider that self-care. I'd probably do it more on a Friday or Monday.
Sure. Like you could pick Friday or Monday. Absolutely. The reason it was Sunday is because I created this system when my kids were 6 months and 6 months and 2 years old. And so I was a stay-at-home mom. So Monday through Friday, I couldn't get any of that administrative stuff done. Saturday, the family was finally all together. We were doing all kinds of family things. And in our family, after we went to church and came home, that 1 to 3 o'clock time in the afternoon before we did our family dinner in the evening was the most logical time for me to do the Sunday basket because my husband had had some of my time. The kids had had a lot of family time. And it was just like this lull where that time wasn't really being allocated for anything else.
I see. And so what else is in your Sunday basket would you recommend us to have?
So the Sunday basket is really a powerhouse. It is a simple system that can be easily made very highly detailed if you're a detail person, but it can also be just a big picture dumping basket and you just go through it on whatever day you want to do it. I do it on Sunday. So things like mail, forms, you go through your text messages, your DMs, your emails. And then also there are pockets in there that will organize your different projects. So any maintenance projects you have going on, you go through your bills, you plan your food for the week, you follow up on any tasks that you're monitoring and making sure that they get done. If you have a receipt for your taxes that aren't due for 9 months now, you could put it in there. It'll hold on to all those actionable projects that we are managing as household managers. The
And
invisible work.
the invisible, I got it. And I'm curious, is it an actual like big basket, and
Yep.
where is it in your house?
Yep,
Okay.
it's right behind me if you're watching the video. It's just like about the size of a watermelon, and it just has binder insert sheets that are different colors, and those different colors represent the different managements that we do as household, which are your family, yourself, your household, and your finances.
I love that. So it's very similar because I'm also, my background is nutrition. We recommend people to do their meal planning on Sundays, actually.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's part of
yeah,
that meal
yeah.
planning sort of process. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. That's so cool. And it also reminds me, because my previous career was in human resources consulting. So I had a lot of these leadership models that I would coach my clients with. The Eisenhower matrix. Have you heard of that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yes.
very similar to that matrix, which is or a quadrant, which is basically prioritizing tasks. And it was one of the presidents of the US that came up with this, where you prioritize because not everything needs to be done now, exactly what you were
Right.
saying. So prioritize what you want to do, what's immediate and urgent, what's urgent but not immediate, or no, not important. Immediate, urgent and important, important, not urgent, and then not important and not urgent. And that you just need to like file under G maybe, right? Or delegate. So is there a delegation that can happen within your system too? And
There
how does that
is.
work?
So the first level is you just capture any idea. So I usually use index cards. So I'll write down every single thought my brain has or request that people make of me on an index card. And I just ask this one question. Does it have to happen before Sunday? If it doesn't, I just drop it in the Sunday basket. I don't even think about it. I don't think about, is it even a good idea? Do I even have the money to do it? I don't think any of those things. Just, does it have to happen before Sunday? If it doesn't, it goes in the Sunday basket. If it does, then I'm like, okay, when am I going to get it on my calendar? Then when you're on Sunday, when I go through everything, some of these ideas aren't very good. They just get tossed. But that's fine. I make that decision then. I go through and I do everything actionable that I can do, or I get things to a place where I do the research that I need to do or decide. I make a lot of decisions on what I need to do. And then, yes, you can delegate that to a family member. You can delegate them if it goes back to work to someone in staff. You can hire a contractor to do it, or you can delegate it to yourself. And when you delegate it to yourself, you can delegate it this week or sometime in the future. You know, you just have a lot of choices there. Yeah, it's very much running your household like you would run a business.
Yes, that is so
Yeah.
clever. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, in your opinion, you call this quicksand that some of us can fall into, and mostly women, or at least in the sort of the my target market as well. So, how can women get stuck in this quicksand in their households? What's happening
Okay.
here?
Yeah, we're pivoting away from the Sunday basket. Now, I created the Sunday basket when I was in the quicksand of having 2 kids under the age of 2 and just couldn't get my tasks done. Later, when I was at 39, about to be 40, I was in a different kind of quicksand. And this quicksand wasn't just the learning how to be a parent of multiple kids and balancing all my work. There were additional things that were impacting my time. My parents had gotten separated, ultimately divorced. My father got sick, passed away. My sister and I then had to settle his estate and sell our family home. That was a lot. The world economy went into the recession of 2008, 2009. That was a lot. The kids' needs were becoming more and more and more. I went on an antidepressant because of the divorce and all of those things, and was the heaviest weight that I had ever been. And I was just feeling very out of control in my life in so many ways. And because I was hitting 40, we didn't have a lot of financial resources because all of our income that we had earned was going towards decisions we'd made in our 20s and 30s. Like, it was still going to the mortgage. It was still going to the, we had kids and they had expenses. And, we hadn't really increased our income in our 30s to keep up with the increase in the expenses that we had. And so I needed to go back to work. I needed to figure out something that was going to make more money than my teaching job was at the time. And so as I was in that quicksand, I felt like every effort that I made in order to get ahead, I was actually moving 2 steps behind. Have you ever felt this way? Like, I was on the escalator going the wrong way. And the faster I moved, the more exhausted I got, but I wasn't making any forward progress. And I was almost 40, and the women in my family live into their 90s. Some live into their 100s, as I want to as well. And I was like, no way. Like, I don't want to live this life for 60 more years. Like, this is too much like Groundhog Day. I hate that movie, Groundhog Day. Like, every day over and over again. Like, that is like my worst fear. Like I want to be growing and thriving and developing and bettering myself. And so I had to like stop everything. And I was like, how do I, because I can only control myself. I can't control anybody else. How do I get myself out of this situation I'm in? None of my own making, but just kind of like, I think we all kind of get to a point, and a lot of us, it is around 40, where we're like, wow, I'm burned out. Like I am overwhelmed with all these responsibilities that are on me, and I don't have the time or the money or the people to delegate them to anyone else. So that was the quicksand that I was in. This book really goes through that whole decade of my 40s, like not day by day, but really looking back on that decade of my 40s. By the end of that first year, I had gotten organized, started this company, and had already started to earn more money than I had. And I was on my way out of the quicksand. But sometimes just getting organized and earning more money can be a short time fix. There were mindset shifts that I made in that year where I started to transition from giving all of myself to my family to saying, okay, I need to also be fulfilled. Like I have to fill my cup. How do you even do that? Like I loved being a stay-at-home mom. I love my children. I love giving of myself to my family. But also I'm a lifelong learner. Like I need to have stimulation. I need to have something to sink my teeth into. How do I do that? And so escaping quicksand was really how I did that. This 10 steps to how I was able to prioritize my self-care along with the care of everyone else in our family.
Okay, tell us a little more. How do
Okay.
we escape the quicksand? What are those steps?
So I found, and I don't know if you think this also, like my husband supports every crazy idea I have. He's like, yep, go for it. Do whatever you want to do. But I have to think of it myself, right? Whereas like I'm thinking of ways to enrich my husband and my kids' lives. Like that is part of like my thought process. And so I had to start taking some time to think about, what did I want? I didn't know. I think a lot of times when we're like, I'm burned out, I need to be on this list, like I need some time for me. And they're like, okay, great, take it. And we're like, I don't know what I want. Like, I don't know what I want to do. And so I realized that a lot of the times when I was annoyed, I wasn't really even annoyed with my family or myself. I was just annoyed with all the tasks I needed to do. So the first thing I did was I started looking at every time I was frustrated, how could I reorganize what I was doing in my household, or how could I reorder what I was doing to find little pockets of time? Like I would get up in the morning and I would stand naked in front of my shower and I'd be like ticked off that the water wasn't hot instantly. I'm so privileged. Like there's so many people that don't have hot water at all. But that 1 minute waiting for that water to heat up, I then changed that. I was like, okay, well, I have to brush my teeth anyway. Turn on the water, go brush your teeth, come back. Oh, it's perfect temperature. Get in. Things like that. Like just starting to reorder our day, because we can't say, oh, I want to take time for myself to do whatever. We don't have any excess time. First, we have to create time and then know what we want that time for. And when we know what we want that time for, which in my case started to start this business, then I was able to find different pockets of time in order to find time for me to start the business.
I love it. So do you believe in habit stacking? Have you come across? Yeah.
Yes. I love habits. So there's schedules, there's habits. I call it task stacking. I use all of those things, all those productivity hacks, because we have to spend a lot of time running our household. And I find for many women, they don't realize how many hours it is to run a household. The average is 28, not including children. So that's a lot of time. And when you really want to have time for yourself, do you really want to do all those things you're doing? Like you can eat on paper plates. You don't have to use regular plates. You could take your laundry somewhere to have it done. You don't have to do it. You know, there are trade-offs you can have when you really want to find time. You can start to find some time.
Right. What are some of your favorite ways to stack some of your habits?
Oh, anything that you have to do repetitively, like you were talking about planning your food. So food takes the most time out of the week. So if you could say, okay, I'm going to spend 60 minutes or whatever a week on food, and you sit down and you're like, okay, here's going to be the meal plan. And I like to even put in my calorie counter and tracks all my macros to make sure it's going to be right. Then you make the grocery list. I actually sit there and just order it online. I don't go get it. Then when the order comes, I'm like, okay, I divide everything into the little packages that they're going to need to be divided into for the week. I take a lot of food to my office because I'm at the office during the week. So I have home food and office food. I have food for my grandson. So I make sure I have what he has. So in that like 90 minutes on, let's say a Sunday, I could do the planning in 30 minutes. And then when the food comes, I take another hour. And by the time I'm at the end of the day, all of my food for the week is decided. So that's a great habit stack
Yeah,
that I do.
because that
Yeah.
decision fatigue is a killer, isn't it? It's such a
Yeah.
killer. Yeah, you can minimize that so much. And so what does self-care mean to you right now then? What are you doing for your self-care? I'm curious.
So self-care right now, I've just finished a PhD. I got a PhD in applied psychology. So for 3.5
Congrats.
years, thank you. I was
Mm-hmm.
running the
Beautiful.
company, getting the PhD, and then my grandchildren live with us. So I was spending a lot of time with the grandchildren, and I gained quite a little bit of weight and
Mm.
also like didn't move at all. So now big part of my self-care is I do Pilates a couple times a week. I take my grandchild with me. I joined a gym that has a really cool, area for the 4-year-old, and he loves to come with me. I'm working a lot on my nutrition, which I never have done before. I recently just put my DNA through a nutrition test and found out a lot of what I was doing wrong was just eating the wrong foods, doing what conventionally everybody is saying to do right now, but actually my body does better with higher carbs and no fat. And I was eating like
Right?
high fat and no carbs, and it's like, why
Yeah.
do I have no energy? Now I have energy. So really just
Mm-hmm.
in general, I think self-care is not just self-care. Like when I was getting the PhD, I had this picture in my head of the St. Louis Arch. And I saw at the bottom of one end of the arch, childcare, and the other end of the arch was elder care. Like I understand these two kinds of care. And then I pictured that whole arch as us from like 18 to 80. Like we're in charge of our own self-care. So what you would do for children or what you would do for your parents if you were caring for them, you should do for yourself. So when
Yes.
I make my
Mm-hmm.
grandson his little lunch that's appropriate for his age and his, nutrition, I do the same for me. When I fill his water bottle, I fill my water bottle. When I think about when he needs to go to
Mm-hmm.
sleep, I think about when I need to go to sleep. So just like doing everything you already do and then adding you, like you think about this for your family or for your dog or for your spouse, and then also think about it for you.
I love that. That is so like gold right here, right now,
Yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah.
I swear, because a lot of our guests are saying the same thing, that women tend to put themselves last, or I'll do it when the kids grow up. Well, they don't need me anymore. Well, that might never happen, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, so prioritizing yourself and not feeling selfish about it, not feeling guilty about it, because as you know, the very famous example on the plane, you got to put your mask first before putting it on someone else. So that needs to be, your cup needs to be filled. I'm speaking in a lot of cliches here, but they're just so important. Some of them just really drive the point home. So I love it. And that is so easy to do because it's just a reminder. Oh yeah, my cup, I need to fill my water bottle too. Or let's like keep those same habits that you recommend for others, for yourself.
And those cliches are there because they're so true, because you cannot take care of someone else if you are not well. And yes, you prioritize children because you have to, because they can't care for themselves. And then as they get older and they can care for themselves, the amount of work of running a household and parenting in middle school and high school is so much more work than you ever anticipated. Plus, you're usually re-entering the workforce yourself if you stepped out. And the driving. Can we get down to like 25 hours a week is what I was driving when my kids were in high school, and that's a lot of hours. And then to get them to drive, oh my gosh, the driving is so much. It is so many hours. But what I will say to that is that women live longer than men. We do, but we live in worse health than men. So we live a lot longer and we live in worse health. And that starts in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. And I knew when I was getting the PhD, I already wasn't I have a good constitution, so I'm pretty healthy, but I've never worked out before 2 years ago. Never. I was not a worker outer person. I was eating all fast food in my 40s. So I haven't helped myself, and I'm now
Mm-hmm.
trying to, and I'm doing a good job. I'm not in bad health, but I'm trying to really in my 50s shore up what my 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. That's 4 decades that I am working on
Right.
right now. It's really, really, really important. And when the crisis happens, when your mom falls, when the kid, is in a car accident or whatever, and now you're in crisis mode and you are stepping into support and help, whatever health you have, whatever organization you have, whatever systems you have, whatever financial resources you have, that is what you have to live out this crisis. And it could be a couple of days, it could be a couple of years, it could be a decade. You can't really shore that back up once the crisis starts. So it's really, self-care is creating and maintaining capacity in yourself so that you can be helpful and care for others from, a robust wealth of wellness. If you are just like skating by and then the crisis happens, of course, you're going to sacrifice yourself and your health even more for your family, but you're going to end up even more depleted. I mean, just look at caregiving of adults. Like when one spouse cares for the other and then they finally pass away, that's when you realize how much of a toll it has taken on the person who was doing the caregiving. They are so much more depleted than they would have been because they have done so much care for that other adult.
So true. I highly agree for sure. Prevention for me is key to health, to longevity. So if we can do that prevention early on, that just really with anything, right? It doesn't have to be with really anything. So I'm so glad that you reiterating this on this podcast. So tell us in terms of what do you see from your clients, the most common habits that keep us in this quicksand?
I think the biggest thing is really not recognizing how much we're doing. And the problem with recognizing how much work we're doing at home is at first you're going to be really ticked off. And you're going to be annoyed.
I can't believe I'm doing all that.
Yes, I can't. Why aren't other people doing this? That is a normal reaction. However, I'll take it back to business. Like whenever anything's not working in my business or I want to make a really big, like new project for the company to work on, I then have to look at all of the work that the employees are already doing and decide, are we going to stop doing what they're normally doing in order to make capacity for this project? Do we need to hire more people? Are there things we can just let go entirely? Do we want to outsource this new project to a consultant and then bring it back in-house in order to do customer service? So that's what I want you to think about in your household. You probably don't have the resources to hire a household manager and delegate and pay for everything. And you can delegate it to your family, but I find that causes a lot of arguments and it's more of a slow burn than it is I made a decision and here's all your work that you're doing now. That really doesn't go over well in the family. But when you really look at it and really take a deep dive into how much work are you doing in the household, how much can you stop doing? Like how much are you doing just because you always did it or your parents did it or you saw people do it or your friend told you about it, but you don't even really care about it? Like ironing is my big one. Like growing up, we ironed absolutely everything. My dad had handkerchiefs and we ironed those. We ironed everything except my dad's underwear. Like we literally ironed everything. And when I went to college, my first night there, I had done my first load of laundry and I brought it in my room and I got out my ironing board and my iron to iron my linens. And my roommate and the people in the hall were like, hey, you want to go up to uptown and have dinner or whatever? It was like 7:00 at night. I was like, no, I need to stay in and iron my linens. Okay. I should have warned you if you were drinking coffee. So I don't call them linens anymore and I don't iron them anymore. But that was like when I grew up. We spent 2 days a week ironing. Every day at 4:45, we vacuumed every single day. Like we did housework on our housework. Like it was ridiculous the amount of housework that we did. But that was the 80s, and that was the expectation. So now, I don't know, I have a robot. She kind of works. And she goes once a week. Okay. So we vacuum once a week. We don't do it once a day. And I don't iron pretty much anything in my house anymore. If it needs to be ironed, it just goes to the dry cleaner. So those kinds of things. Like, what are you doing that you don't even realize you're doing? I only do dishes 4 times a week. And people will be like, oh my gosh, I do dishes 4 times a day. I do it after breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. That's a lot of dish doing. You can just let it build up and do it all at once. Now that might bother you. If that bothers you, then do it. But it is a choice. Because you haven't been in as many households as I have, you don't realize what choices are available to you.
That's true. No, you're absolutely right. If it makes you feel good to like just leave it there and then just do it whenever you can, that's okay. But I just actually visited my friend and she's got such a kick-ass system. So with her kids, so she's got a schedule and of the chores that need to be done. And she's got 2 kids and she alternates between the 2 kids on what they need to do. And she is like, I was amazed. I'm like, I know. I'm like, I have never seen this before. And then at the end of the week, they get their allowance based on the chores that they got done. So if they don't get all the chores done, they're not going to get the full allowance. So there is that tying this to real value. So there's value to the money that you're holding in your hand right now, and it's due to your hard work throughout the week. And so even they make their own lunch, and I was like, wow, I think it's 12 and 15. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. I mean, we helped my mom making lunches, but it was all under her directive, right? So I just find that, and she's got time to do her own thing. living, right? And she's
Yes.
happy and she's healthy and the family's healthy and they're all contributing. And these boys, when they grow up to be incredible men and have the experience of doing all of this housework, like they're going to be great, partners to someone for sure. Because my next question, Lisa, was a lot of times as women, we don't ask for help. And we're very shy, or we hold back, or maybe again, we come from these families where we've seen our mothers and our grandmothers, that female role model, just be that martyr, like just self-sacrificing woman. And that's all we saw. And so are you seeing a change or a shift in this?
There definitely is a shift. I mean, men in general of all generations are very willing to help. But the mental load and the ideation and the identification of what work needs to happen usually starts with women. And science will show that even in the same room, a messy room or a clean room, men and women view that room as messy or clean. Like they see the same amount of mess, but men just don't. It doesn't bother them, or they just don't take action. So when you say women don't ask for help, a couple of thoughts come to mind. First of all, because my husband will say all the time, hey, just let me know. I'll help you out. Let me know. So some psychologists will say, well, why do we have to let you know? Why don't you just know? Like, you live here too. That's one argument. True. The second thing is, if it's like laundry, dishes, food related, that's really, really easy to be like, hey, so like I did this 10 years ago, no joke. I came home on Tuesday. I told you I ate all fast food. And I was driving this 25 hours a week and trying to grow this company. And I'm always looking for, how do I get more time for me? How do I get more time for the company? And I was like, shoot, I could just stop going to the grocery store. Back then, there wasn't delivery. So I said to my husband, I don't go to the grocery store anymore, because I wasn't eating the food I brought home anyway. He was eating lunch. The kids were all getting fast food. Like, we just weren't eating it. We were throwing a lot of it away. And he said, well, how will we get food in the house? And I said, well, you have a car, you have a credit card, and you know where the grocery store is. And I, for 10 years, have not gone back to the grocery store. So that's one way you could be like, hey, you're in charge of food. And he totally is in charge of food. Now that I'm eating different macros and what I think is best for my body, I buy my own food, delivery. He buys his food, delivery. Our daughter and the grandkids who live with us, she buys her food, delivery. Like, we've got lots of food coming in and lots of different refrigerators, which is all fine. So that's one way to just delegate the entirety of the task. I don't care where you go. I don't care what you buy. I don't care what we eat. You're totally in charge. That is a great way to delegate, because then you're not carrying any of that mental load. I don't have any mental load about anybody's food other than my own. Because a lot of things that we have to do in households are multi-step. And so when you say, I'll help you, or what can I do? Are you going to help me with the research, with the calendaring, with the monitoring, with the ensuring that it did, with the delegating, with the following up, with the communication to other family members? Like, there's so many pieces to every single task. That's why I give that example of food, because I literally, hands off, like, his mom comes over for dinner, he figures out what we're eating. All I do are the dishes. That's all I do are the dishes. And whatever he tells me to do in the kitchen, he's like, make the salad, make the potatoes. I'm like, great. Like, I'm just like, I'm a sous chef and I do the dishes. That's it. That's what I do.
And so I'm curious, what was the second from a psychology perspective? So there's the one that you shouldn't be asking if you're part of the household.
Is that
what's the
that
other school of thought?
It's that this is a multi-step and you're only giving a piece of it versus the whole. So like, I gave the whole role of the cooking, whereas so some people may say, go to the grocery store and get me these things, but they're actually making the menu plan. And then once the food comes home, they're preparing the menu and okay, please go make the meat. Okay, I'm making everything else. I give the whole job over. Yeah.
Right. So, and you decide that, what you're comfortable with. Because sometimes it takes time to get comfortable with that.
And my husband will say, you do it, Lisa, because you want to be in charge. I'm like, darn right I do. Thank you for noticing. And so I do keep a lot of the mental load, but that's okay, because I know I've made that decision. And that's why I've elevated my role in the household as a CEO. I am making a lot of the strategic decisions. I'm doing the research. I'm looking at marketing trends. I'm thinking long-term about what we need for our family's health, wealth, and happiness. And then I'm deciding which things are most important to be done right now. And then, if possible, delegating those out to family members. And if not, I do it myself. And I don't have a problem with that. Same as I do at work.
So how does that household management system you talked about, how does it evolve as we age?
Yeah, well, because it becomes bigger. Yeah, it becomes bigger. So the Sunday basket system that you talked about, running your household, the nice thing about the Sunday basket is it is a system. So I've had family members, we have had family members, and I've had clients where once you take care of your parents' finances and become their power of healthcare, you just get another Sunday basket. So you go through your administration of the week, you go through their administration of the week, you go through your bills, you go through their bills. And then there's like this second box that represents their household that you're managing and all of the invisible work that you do there.
I like that. That's like really hitting home and resonating because I do a lot of stuff for my parents. I'm their health caregiver and their financial caregiver. So yeah, that's good. And I typically do that. Like I do their stuff whenever I get a chance, but I'm not as good as with my stuff. So now, thank you. Yeah, I think I'm going to definitely apply some of those concepts. And even as women transition from different beautiful stages of our lives, any tips there on what to do? Yeah.
I was just talking to a client today who is in her 60s. I'm in my 50s. We've talked about being in your 40s, and we kind of had a conversation back and forth. And I said, she just actually upsized from the home that they raised their family in into this bigger home because the kids are older and want to come home, with spouses now. So you don't think about this, but you actually need a bigger house as your kids get older because they are bigger, and then the family expands, and also you're where all the holidays are. And then I was saying to her, at what point do we then downsize into the smaller patio home? Where's that? And we kind of agreed that it was probably somewhere in your 70s because your energy is just so much lower once you get in the 70s. And so a lot of this, when you're going as you get older, it really is your energy and your cognitive capacity. So right now I'm doing everything possible to keep my cognitive capacity and my energy at the highest it can be. But I mean, I am mortal. So eventually these things are going to come into play. So I'll give you one more Sunday basket story. I had a client whose mom, she thought she had Alzheimer's, and they were starting the cognitive testing, and she got the Sunday basket for herself and her mom. And she was her mom's power of attorney. So she said, all right, Mom, we're going to do the weekly test. And her mom was starting to forget things and miss things. And so they started doing the Sunday basket, and her cognitive capacity and ability to run her household increased for 9 months. And during that time, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And then her cognitive capacity decreased again. And so that was really interesting to me. And that is the scientific study I want to do. Does the Sunday basket, as I hypothesize, externalize our executive function, therefore increasing our cognitive capacity and allow us to do more with the same brain capacity, which I think it does. And her story really helped me think like, oh my gosh, even when you are cognitively declining, this helps. So it did two things. Number one, it allowed her to keep doing her own things for 9 months. But number two, it allowed her daughter to see how she ran her household. So many times when we step in to run our parents' households, we're like, oh, you're in charge now. Okay, well, what's the login? Where's the password? Where's the, you're just like drowning immediately. In this case, it gave her this ramp to be like, okay, this is the way Mom does it. This is all the things I need to do and this time in order for her to take it on. And the beauty is both households run on the same system. All of us have cobbled together our own system. It's not like you guys aren't doing something like the Sunday basket. The difference with the Sunday basket is it is a consistent system that could be in multiple households. Therefore, people can step in and run your system just like they run their system because the system is the same.
Right. Can you just go back to your hypothesis? I'm very curious. So
yes.
the external, can you just explain that again a little more? I'm like, I'm all over that. I'm like, wow, I want to know a little more. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we talked earlier about forgetting to change the laundry because of your working memory. So your executive function, which is the part of your brain that makes the decision and helps you get things done, has
prefrontal cortex.
Yep. Has 8 different components. The biggest one that's been studied is working memory, but there are 7 more. Organization is an executive function. Planning is an executive function. Getting started, monitoring. These are all actually executive functions that have been labeled in science. And the only way to increase our cognitive capacity, our ability to have a bigger working memory, is to externalize our thoughts and ideas into our environment. So the way in which you would do that is write them down. So you write them down. Now you've got it out of your brain and on paper. Now, you could put it in an app and you could type it, but scientifically, we know that if you write it down with your hand, it actually goes into your long-term memory, or that's where we think it goes, and you remember it more. So the scientific study that was done on this is they gave people fake appointments, and they had them put them on a calendar. One had to do it like with a stylus, one did it on a paper calendar, and one did it on a Google calendar. And then when they were done, they asked people a couple of weeks later about the appointments on that calendar, fake appointments that aren't even your appointments. And the people who wrote it on an actual calendar could still remember them. So writing them down by hand, there's something, and your brain lights up differently when you write things by hand. So this idea that every single thing that comes to your head, you're going to write it on an index card and put it in the Sunday basket. Number one, you'll remember to do it because it's in the Sunday basket. But number two, you've taken it out of your working memory. You put it somewhere else in your brain. I don't know where it went, but went somewhere else. So now your working memory, which is limited in capacity, is still able to hold whatever you're currently working on today. So I think that's what the Sunday basket does.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. I'm sold. I think you'll definitely be able to prove to prove that. Yeah. And I'm going to try this myself too. I mean, I write all the time. I always write stuff.
Yeah.
Even I have a physical calendar that I write and calendarize all my events and stuff like that. I just love it. I've never gotten into that, the stylus stuff for sure. I just really love the feeling of pen to paper. Definitely. Great. And was that's why you went back to school and studied the psychology behind this?
Yep. I went back to school just to be able to study the Sunday basket. I talked to a psychologist, a medical doctor. Deficits in executive function are how we define ADHD. And here in Cincinnati, Ohio, we do a lot of research at Cincinnati Children's Hospital on ADHD, both pharmaceutically and alternative interventions. And so as a teacher, and my kids went to a school that had ADHD intervention services, we do a lot of things in addition to medication to support kids who have ADHD in learning environments in order to learn, and also for self-help skills. However, there are no scientists, to my knowledge, and this scientist confirmed this, who are doing academic level studies other than pharmaceutical interventions for adults with ADHD. So this would be potentially a non-pharmaceutical ADHD intervention for adults. Like just from my childhood, like just from my teaching days, there were so many things I did with students who were diagnosed with ADHD that improved their learning performance. So it stands to reason that we would have the same things for adults, that it would improve their performance outside of medication. It's just not being studied in science. And he told me that he didn't want to study it, and I couldn't have his research money. And I said, that's fine. So I went back and got my PhD, and now I'm just going to pay for my own research.
Exactly. Yes.
I'm like, that's fine. I'll solve my own problem. It's not even my problem, but I'll just, I'll solve this problem for other people.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that. That's so inspiring, Lisa. Okay, I can't wait to have you back on. I'm going to put it in my calendar. Ooh. When do you expect to do all of this, the research? How long do you expect to take?
I just got my doctorate 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start time studies this summer, and I will start the first Sunday basket study this fall. It'll be a contaminated sample because it'll come from my audience, so they know what the Sunday basket is. I hope to find support. If we find support, I'm going to go to an organization here in Cincinnati and see if we can use their parent population, so they won't know me. And then if we find support there, then I will be open to anybody who wants to replicate the study, because replication of studies is the strongest support for a study. And I find most scientists don't replicate their studies. I don't understand. I mean, I know it costs money, but if you find a significant finding, why doesn't somebody else test it? You know what I mean? Like, anyways, so maybe I don't want there to be.
Maybe it's the motivation behind that. Maybe they found that that specific pharmaceutical drug works. So why would we replicate it just in case it doesn't? Who knows?
They probably do in pharmaceutical. I'm thinking in non-pharmaceutical.
Oh, okay. Okay. So maybe, Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe it's different.
Interesting. Well, call me up if you need testing, because I definitely want to be part of this. Yeah. No, awesome. This is incredible work, Lisa. Very, very inspired by what you're doing and the route that you've been on. I actually have another podcast called the UpliftHER Leadership Series. So let's get you on there and talk more about your personal story. So, yes. So tell us a little more about the 365 organization. If somebody's interested and is listening, is like, yeah, I think I need this, or it's really resonating with them. How do you work with people? How does it work?
Thank you so much. So Organize 365 is really, it's an online school. So we have a podcast. The podcast has been going on for 12 years. You can listen to me like for a full year if you want to listen to the back catalog. And then once you're like, okay, I think this could be my teacher. I think that even though I think I can't learn organization, Lisa might trick me into it, which I will. I usually say to start with the Sunday basket. And then I have other programs, and all of our programs have a couple of components. They have a physical component, so you're going to get a physical box sent to you. They have an online course, and the course doesn't take too long to get through. And then they have a co-working time. So about 40 times per year on Sundays, you can actually log in live and do your Sunday basket or watch the replay with someone. And all of our courses are a lifetime purchase. So it's a one-time purchase, and then you just have access for years and years and years and years. Because I think women, a lot of times, by the time they invest the money, if there's a clock counting down to when you can listen to this and then it's going to expire, it creates a lot of anxiety and pressure. And then also we change. Like you're like, okay, I'm going to get the Sunday basket. Oh, I didn't, 3 years later. Oh, now I got to take over my parents. What did she say about that? You can go back in and find out, like, once you've paid once, you're in.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. So does the Sunday basket evolve? Or is there a future sort of what's in? Okay, tell me.
Yes. So the Sunday basket, first you have to get used to the habit of not doing things every time you think about them. Doesn't take very long, about 4 to 6 weeks. And you're like, oh yeah, delay. Then you're like, oh, geez, I've delayed a lot of things, number one. And number two, I do a lot more work than I thought. So like my Sunday basket is like exploding. So then we create additional boxes. Like you'll create one called a calendar box. You'll move anything that's seasonal will go over into the calendar box so that your weekly Sunday basket is a little bit lighter. At the holidays, we create a holiday box. And then that holiday box becomes your tax box. So these different things that we're doing, they start to extend to this household management part of you. Once you get the household management under control, and you don't have to do these in this order, then we have an information management system. A lot of the information that you run your household on is in your brain, on the computer, in the cloud, which is great for you, but not great if somebody else has to be you or help you. And so then we download that into some binders. And then we also do strategic planning. So 3 times a year, we do planning days, just like you would do quarterly planning in business. And then if you want to, you can plan with me monthly.
Oh, it is totally like a business. The only thing you're missing is succession planning. So who's going to do this?
No, we got that too, baby. We got that too. That is the health binder and the financial binder. Yes. And it goes all the way through your estate because this is a business. 68% of US GDP is household spending. We are a business. We're just not revenue generating, but we are revenue giving and time and talent giving. And the health of the family, the health of the household is the health of the country. Like we are a super, super, super important entity. And we are an entity. Yeah.
So cool. I love it. Love it. Totally different perspective today. Learn something so incredibly new. And I can't wait to share this podcast with a lot of my friends and beautiful, beautiful tips. So, I'm so excited. So what is the most common advice that you tend to give your clients?
Okay, so there's so many things that I say, but one thing I think that really resonates with people is that you do not have an effort problem in getting your house organized. You have an order of operations problem. So what I mean by that, and we haven't really talked about organizing your physical spaces. That's, other things. That's another whole work that we do. But when you say, I'm going to get organized this weekend, we tend to look at all those family and communal spaces that people would see if they came in our house, like the family room and the kitchen and the garage. But truly to get organized, if you change the order in which you organize your house, you can actually get done. It's going to take a year, but you'll get done.
What does that mean exactly? Yeah.
Yeah. So organizing your personal spaces would be your bedroom, your bathroom, your closet, and your home office. Or organizing your storage spaces in the basement, the attic, the extra bedroom.
Or the garage.
These spaces unorganized actually cause some low-level anxiety. Because your homework's not done and you really would like to get it done, but you never have enough time to get it done. And then when you get some time, you go and you clean out the refrigerator or you clean up the kitchen. I mean, the kitchen is going to be disorganized every single day, every single week. The worst is people who have kids and they go organize the toy room in the kids' bedrooms. Oh my gosh. I mean, yes, we have to teach kids how to organize their bedrooms, but every single weekend you have to organize their bedroom. Here's what you should do. Go tell your kids to organize their bedroom. You go organize your bedroom. You go organize your bedroom. Because when you organize your bedroom, bathroom, and closet, which may take anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of months to get exactly how you want it, it'll stay organized for 4 to 6 months. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now that anxiety's gone and you're going to bed and waking up in an organized space, oh my goodness, it's so,
It does,
it
yeah.
fills you. It's such good self-care. And then you're like, okay, this space, I just need to maintain this one. What other spaces of my house can I get from unorganized to organized and just maintain versus I have to do the whole thing every single weekend?
Mm-hmm. Which can be so
Yeah.
overwhelming. So what are
Yeah.
some tips on people that hoard stuff like
Ugh.
myself?
You don't hoard stuff.
I get my sister. No, I really do. I get my sister to help me. I'm like, I need you to help me decide. Am I tossing this or am I keeping? Because I'm like, you never know. I might just still need this suit that I used like 5 years ago the last time. So what is that fast rule that you can give us?
All right. So people say they're hoarders. You're not. I mean, if you are, you're not. I mean, I just know that you're not. But you may be people oriented. And so you may just have more better energy if there's a person there. You may need more accountability. So if you have a sister
100%.
that will use it, well then yeah, use your sister. A lot of times that's why people love the Organized 365 community, because we have a private app. So then they'll just go in and ask questions and then people in the app will tell them, and there are thousands of people in these programs. So there's someone that's going to be your gender and your phase of life with your household and your whatever. Like there's so many farmers all over the world. So like Australian farmers, we talking to Iowa farmers, and they're like, we have all these things. Like farmers have stuff. They have got a lot of stuff. And they're always talking about those kinds of things. So yeah, friends are helpful. That's probably the reason why households are so hard to run and we get so overwhelmed, is the loneliness and the isolation, and think we're the only one. You're not the only one, and you're not a hoarder.
Okay.
Yeah.
But any fast rule tip? Like if you haven't worn this suit in 5 years, get rid of it. Like what do you recommend?
I'm not a decluttering expert. And the reason why is because I think decluttering is fast. It's fun. You could definitely see a big result. And yes, you do need to declutter things. I feel if you still have things in your household, you have them there, one, because you just literally don't have the time, or two, you haven't really decided that you're ready to let that thing go. I would rather you keep it than get rid of it. Because if you get rid of it just because you want to declutter, then sometimes you'll get rid of things that you really wish you would have kept, and long term you will stop your decluttering.
Okay. Nice way of putting it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then if you organize it properly, it's okay to have it there. No?
I mean, yeah. If you know where your stuff is and you use it, yeah, keep it.
Exactly. Okay. Great. This is awesome. Yes. So what are your thoughts on feng shui? Do you bring that in terms of organizing certain things in the rooms? The way that you organize a room?
I don't, but I have, read books and listened to podcasts on feng shui. I find it fascinating and interesting. And I'm like, okay, yeah, don't have your back to the door. I didn't really think of that. Or like I have mapped out my house. I'm like, oh, interesting. My home office is in my money quadrant. That's good. So, I mean, I think, yeah, any and all of those things are great. Anything that gets you interested in bettering yourself in your home, like I'm all for all of it.
Yeah, it's true, right? If it feels good and it's aligned and it resonates, why not give it a go and try? So, Lisa, what is the best advice that you've ever received?
Trust your gut. And I don't know who said it or if I just intuited it, but when my kids were younger, like my kids are adopted, so I didn't have health histories and things like that. And I'd be like, I think we should do this, but I didn't push back on the doctors enough, and later found out that I was right. Just now science and DNA and all those things are getting better at telling us like intuitively. I think I mentioned earlier in this podcast, I was eating a high fat, high protein diet because all my friends were doing and were losing weight. And I was like, I really like carbs. I just don't think I do well without carbs. I don't do well fasting, but I was trying all the things because, all my friends were doing it, and then ran my DNA. Sure enough, I don't do good fasting. I need to have 60% carbs. You guys, that's a lot of carbs. I need to have low
You're
fat.
Lucky. You're lucky.
Right? But I wouldn't know that if I hadn't run my DNA. And so many times I think I've self-sabotaged myself because intuitively I knew that this is probably what I needed. But looking at everybody else and trends, I was like, well, that's not what everybody else is doing. So there must be something wrong with me. And the truth was I knew the right thing for my body. And we all have unique households, unique family situations, unique bodies, unique financial situations. Like, take what resonates with you and leave the rest.
Yeah, it's true. And personalized nutrition is something that I really, really help my clients with, because what can be good for me can be poison for you, right? So it's really
Yes.
understanding that personalization is so key. That's why a lot of these fad diets, you're right, the keto is not for everybody. I actually
Right.
think it's therapeutic diet that you can go on, but it's not sustainable. It's not. And that's why even some of these keto experts and influencers are coming back with, well, you should keto flex. So bring in
Yeah.
some carbs every
Right.
now and then. I'm like, no, like, of course, we need carbohydrates for energy, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So, tell us, what are your top 3 non negotiable self care habits?
Well, right now I'm loving Reformers Pilates.
Mm-mm.
The other one is making my own diet, Like, the family's like, why aren't we all eating the same thing? I'm like, because I'm a menopausal woman, not a 4-year-old preschooler. So making my own diet. And I sleep in my own bedroom.
Oh, how
Yeah.
is that? For how
Yeah.
long?
It's wonderful. So ever since my child left home, when my daughter had her first son and moved into our basement, I went ahead and slept in the kids' rooms in order to help her with the baby, and that was almost 5 years ago. And I never did really help her with the baby. So after a couple of years, I said to my husband, I was like, do you want me to come back in the bedroom? He goes, no, I'm good. So he snores. I sleep so much better. Like, we watch TV in bed together, and then like he'll turn on his fan, which is too cold for me. I was like, I guess I'm leaving. He's like, yeah, good night. So then I go in my room. I love it. I love it. Sorry, I love it.
No, it's fine. I had an instructor in my nutrition school, and she called it sleep divorce. So they go to sleep, they're
Yeah.
divorced, and then throughout
Yeah.
the regular day, they're together.
I mean,
and she loved it too. She
I
loves
was
it.
going through menopause. He snores. I have the hot flashes. The dog is barking. I'm just telling you, everybody's happier when people sleep. And neither of us sleep.
Yes.
We're both up in the middle of the night, but we're up at different times. But if we were together, we'd both be up both of those times. And then,
Yeah,
anyways.
100%.
Yeah,
If it works, it works, right? Yeah,
works.
totally. But I do find that there's a lot more senior people, like into their
Mhm.
senior years. They end up, if they have the room,
Yeah.
they end up having their own bedroom. So, yeah, you're not the first for sure that I've mentioned it on this podcast. So, what is your legacy, Lisa? What do you want to be known for?
I want to be known for really systematizing what we do in the household. As you leave your child at home and go into your household, whatever household that's going to be, you have to buy furniture, and then you have to do all the work of maintaining that household. And there is no playbook. There are no operational systems. You have to cobble it all together yourself. I want to really be known for the operational systems that will run your household, and using science to support why those work.
So beautiful. Well, such a pleasure having you on this podcast. I am so grateful our paths have crossed, and I can't wait to hear more about your personal journey for sure. You definitely are welcomed back on to tell us about your research and how that's going. And if you need any help, let me know. So where is the best place for someone to connect with you? And if you have any offerings or freebies that you can graciously gift our audience today.
Yeah, thank you so much. So the website is Organized 365, and the podcast is Organized 365, and I'm most active on Instagram, Organized 365. If you go to organized365.com, up at the top, there'll be something called links. And if you click on the links tab, that'll give you all of the things that we are doing right now. There's always something free there, whatever offers are going on, and you can get to all the products there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your incredible insights. Definitely learned something new today, which is always such a pleasure to do. And that's why I love doing these podcasts, and can't wait to have you on again. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Ciao for now.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Self-Care Goddess podcast. If today's episode inspired you, share it with another woman who's ready to reclaim her vitality and lead from within. To continue your journey, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me on ritasavoia.com. Until next time, remember, self-care isn't selfish, it's your superpower. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and keep rising. Ciao for now.